Today is a very important day for crypto. With the Fed's interest rate decision coming out in just a few hours, it will likely determine where the market is headed in the short term. In today's video, we'll be going over exactly that, some potential short-term Bitcoin trades, as well as when Ethereum could finally bottom against Bitcoin, driving the rest of the altcoin market forward. And make sure to stay tuned till the end of the video because I have a very special giveaway for you all. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. Ahead of the Fed's interest rate decision, let's kick off this video with Trump discussing the matter.
The interest rates will come down.
You said that you would demand that the interest rates come down.
Well,
Do you expect
I would
the
put
Fed-
in a strong statement.
Do you expect the Fed to listen to you?
Yeah.
So Trump wants the interest rates to go down and he's expecting the Fed to listen to him. But if we take a look at the consensus, we can see that everyone is expecting it to stay exactly the same. So will Jerome Powell reduce the interest rates just to please Trump? Or will the consensus be correct at 4.5%? Most of the time here, the market is already pricing it in. And what actually affects the market, believe it or not, is the overall tone of Jerome Powell. If he's a little bit too hawkish in how he communicates, the markets will likely not like that. But in this case, if he's dovish, the markets could see some more potential upside. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart here, we can see that we're trying to hold this support level at 102.3K for Bitcoin. And since the highs, we can see that we have dropped from 109.3K all the way down to 97.7K, which marks only a 10% drop in the market. This is nothing, and I don't want to scare you, but we have historically seen over 30% corrections in a bull market. And if this were to happen to Bitcoin, it would not be pretty for altcoins, as we've come to realize. But what do I think could potentially happen here? Well, with interest rates likely to stay the same, I still think that there is further upside for Bitcoin here. Now, of course, we can always correct, but the likelihood that the top for Bitcoin is in for this cycle is very low in my opinion. And in the meantime, while alts are getting shaken out, we can see that Bitcoin dominance is continuing this pattern that we drew out a couple videos ago. I'm fully expecting us to make a new high in Bitcoin dominance. And as you can see, the altcoin market is still really struggling. And every percent in dominance that Bitcoin gains, it gets worse and worse and worse for altcoins. We can really see the effect of just a 1% increase in Bitcoin dominance. I don't see this slowing down anytime soon until we at least reach the previous top right around 61.5%. It's possible that we go a little bit higher here to form a double top, but ultimately I do think that we will see it resort lower to the downside, fueling the altcoin market. Now, in the short term, if you're looking to trade Bitcoin, this is what I would be looking at. On the one-day chart, we formed a very bullish pennant, breaking out, and now we're seeing a little bit of a bullish retest of this pennant before we break to the upside, and this is what I would be expecting for Bitcoin, targeting $115,000, which we've been talking about on this channel for quite a bit. Now we can see I'm not making up this pattern. This is exactly what the bullish pennant looks out. We see some nice upwards movement, some consolidation before we break to the upside. It can of course take a little bit of time for this to play out, but if you're looking for a potential Bitcoin long, this over here is what I would be looking for as we wait for the altcoin market to gradually pick up. If you're looking to make any of the trades that I talk about on this channel, make sure to click the first link in my description. It will bring you directly to Weeks. With my link, you can earn a $20,000 bonus, and you even get a 50% reduction off your trading fees. If you're actively trading the markets, make sure to sign up, link down below. Okay, so this is the most important chart for altcoins, and I'll try to explain it to you very simply. Bear with me here, I know it's a little bit messy, but when this pink line goes down here, it means that the Fed is reducing their balance sheet, which means quantitative tightening, the opposite of money printing. This also coincides with the ETH Bitcoin valuation going in a significant downtrend. As we can see from the previous bull market cycle, these candles represent Ethereum against Bitcoin, and we can see that it's in a pretty intense downtrend when we're in quantitative tightening. Then when the Fed starts expanding their balance sheet, in other words, quantitative easing and money printing, that is when the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation goes up drastically. Now, the reason why this is so significant is because Ethereum drives the rest of the altcoin market. You may think that this time is different because we've seen assets like Solana outperform, but it's in fact not the case, because I'll tell you right now, if Ethereum was outperforming Bitcoin at this current moment, Solana would be even higher than where it currently is right now. Ethereum determines the rest of the altcoin market. It's been a while since I've been talking about this on the channel, and I got a lot of new subscribers since those previous videos, so I'm just refreshing your memory. Now, we can see that this was quantitative easing, and then when the Fed started reducing their balance sheet once again, we entered quantitative tightening, and once again, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation started collapsing, and it has not stopped ever since, despite the fact that we are in a bull market. Now, the key support levels that we've been looking at for Ethereum against Bitcoin is the 0.03 level, the 0.025, and the 0.017. Now, if Ethereum made it all the way here against Bitcoin, it would be devastating for the altcoin market. We're currently at a critical support level of 0.03, and only time will tell if this will hold as support. But we know that the trend typically reverses when the Fed transitions from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, which is why a lot of these FOMC meetings seem to cause a lot of chaos in the markets because people are just anticipating the transition to quantitative easing. Now, the only issue here is that for the Fed to transition from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, money printing, there needs to be some serious blood in the market. And unfortunately, with Bitcoin still relaxing above $100,000 and the stock market basically at all-time highs, it doesn't give the Fed any kind of real reason to start printing money again. So as we've come to know, this is unfortunately not the ideal environment for altcoins. Don't get me wrong, there's always a select few altcoins that can outperform the rest of the market, regardless of if we're in quantitative tightening or quantitative easing, but they are very difficult to find, and it's likely not to be the altcoin season that everyone is hoping for, where basically all of the altcoins are just exploding on their USD valuations and against Bitcoin. On this channel, we try to always find those very few outperformers, but they're pretty hard to come by. So what's next here? When will Ethereum finally outperform Bitcoin, and when will the rest of the altcoin market follow? Well, that's a very tricky question to answer, because if I tell you that we need quantitative easing to see the entire altcoin market outperform, it's a bit of a scary thought because we might not get it as soon as we're hoping for. Here we have Benjamin Cowan giving us a potential scenario for the markets to follow if we want quantitative easing. Bitcoin dominance goes back over 60%, the market sells off, the Fed ends quantitative tightening, the market rallies, the macro gets worse later in the year, and then we have a recession, which is typical for the midterm year bear market in 2026. Now, I know this is a scary thought for a lot of you, but at this point, after the market sells off, if we are to transition from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, we should see the rebound in the market bounce higher than where we're currently at. So there's some positive light at the end of the tunnel. So for the time being, how am I personally managing this market? Well, first of all, I'm making sure that I hold a significant cash position to be able to dollar cost average into my favorite altcoins during any kind of significant dips. Now, when I say significant dips, I mean 20 to 30% dips in the price of Bitcoin, because that would be absolutely devastating for altcoins. Second of all, I'm being very selective with where my capital is allocated into the altcoin market. As I always talk about on this channel, it's best to have the majority of your portfolio in Bitcoin because it gives you the upside while minimizing your downside risk. Now, of course, when the time hopefully comes where we get an explosive altcoin season, altcoins do outperform Bitcoin. And the last thing that I'm doing in the meantime is to be trading the markets to accumulate some extra capital to add to my cash reserves and to be able to buy these dips that I talked about. As I mentioned earlier, this is the current pattern that I'm looking to trade, and I will let you know when I spot any new patterns that emerge. And in the meantime, regardless of what monetary policy currently says and how it affects specifically the altcoin market, there is still a ton of bullish news for the industry coming out. The head of the Czech central bank actually wants to buy billions of euros worth of Bitcoin, looking at a $140 billion Bitcoin reserve. That would be massive. And then if we go ahead and compare Bitcoin to some other assets like Nvidia, it looks like a pattern is repeating where Bitcoin will significantly outperform Nvidia in the next few weeks to months. As we can see on the top of this chart right here, Bitcoin seems to have bottomed against Nvidia. So if you are in between both Bitcoin and Nvidia, it's very likely that Bitcoin will now outperform Nvidia for the foreseeable future. And despite Ethereum continuing to bleed against Bitcoin, the altcoin market struggling, we can see that World Liberty Financial just bought another $10 million worth of Ethereum. they are not slowing down because they know what's to come, which is why I do think we will get to a point in this cycle where more liquidity is injected into the markets, Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin, and the rest of the altcoin market will perform. And despite everything I share in this video, I am also personally an Ethereum accumulator at these levels because I do think that over the course of 2025, Ethereum will be outperforming Bitcoin regardless of what everyone else is telling you. Here we have Alex Becker pointing out the obvious, but I know that a lot of people on crypto Twitter just don't get this point. An ETH bull run is key to a huge utility alt season. BlackRock is mass buying Ethereum. The president has bought $200 million of it in the last 30 days. All the big players are smothering the price while they go ahead and accumulate more and more Ethereum. Just hodl, this isn't hard. And if you are trading these markets, I would be very selective about any kind of altcoins that you have on leverage because the volatility can likely shake you out. And into the giveaway part of the video, first of all, I just have to thank you very much for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. It's a huge milestone. We started the channel near the end of October 2024, and I have a lot of aspirations as to how high we can go. Now let's jump into the giveaway. So first of all, we're going to be giving away $100 worth of Bitcoin. All you need to do to participate is 1, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and 2, make sure you sign up to Weeks, which is the first link in my description. As I mentioned in all my videos, this is where I'm actively trading the crypto markets. So make sure to sign up. And once you have signed up, we will do a draw and randomly select one user. So the way it works is on Weeks, you get a user ID. And after the winner is randomly selected, I will be sharing the last 4 digits of the user ID in my YouTube video on February 3rd. So you have from now until February 3rd to enter this giveaway. Best of luck, everyone. And that sums up today's video. Bitcoin is still consolidating above 100K, but altcoins are continuing to bleed, likely to do with monetary policy, especially because Ethereum is struggling against its Bitcoin pair. Now we have the Fed meeting today, which will likely determine the short-term movements in the market, but overall, I still think that the market will top in Q4 of this post-halving year, and we should see some relief to altcoins, especially if monetary policy changes in the near future. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.